This is section 3.4. We are talking more about the part of a whole. And so what you see on the screen here, N is equal to P times W. N is a part of a whole. It's, let's say, like a tip, a portion of what you would be paying. The P is always for percent, and the dot is multiply, and then the W is for your whole. So if your bill was $60, that would be your whole. So let's start looking at this first problem here. I wrote it all out. The answer is a part of this. It tells you that 10.56 is 13.2% of 80. It's all there. So what I'm asking you is which one is your N, which one is your P, and which one is your whole or your W. Well, we do know that is our equal sign, and we do know that of is our multiply sign. What you should remember is that there are two things on one side with the multiply sign, and there's one thing on the other side of the equal sign. And the one thing on the other side of the equal sign is your N. And so that means that your part is 10.56. Your percent is going to be the guy that has the percent sign, and so if we move the decimal 2 places, this is what we get. And your 80 is your whole. Okay, so identifying what each of the pieces are is the first step. You need to make sure that you can do that. And then we move on to problems like this. You saw this a little bit in 3.3. We're going to do about 7 or 8 problems over this, and then we're going to wrap up 3.4, and that's all your homework is just problems like this. So what percent? That means my percent is what I don't know. Of means multiply. 130 must be my whole because is here, and remember anything on the other side all by itself is my N, right? So there they are. Oops, sorry, it's 104. All right, so now we've got a problem where P is multiplied times 130. When I multiply a letter and a number together, they end up being the number first and the letter second, and they're touching. Touching implies that multiply has been happening. Equals 104. What happens if something is multiplied together and you want them to come apart? So for example, I want to get this 130 apart or away from my P. Well, how do you do that? You do the opposite of what just happened, right? So it multiplied, the opposite of multiply is to divide. And so I'm going to divide by whatever it is that I want to go away. 130 goes into 130 one time, so I have P or 1P left over. I do the same thing on the other side to keep this problem balanced. And so in my calculator, I type in 104 and I divide it by 130, and I find that P is equal to 0.80. Remember that P in this problem is always a decimal. For me to get it out and to give an answer, I need to move the decimal to make a percent. So from decimal to percent, I go 2 places to the right, and I find my answer to be 80%. Okay, let's try another one. What percent, something I don't know, of means multiply, 250 is my whole, is my equal sign, and N is my 100. So if I plug all this in, this is the equation of the problem that I have to solve. When I multiply, remember 250 goes first, the number goes first, it touches the letter, it means multiply. How do I undo multiply? I divide, I do the opposite of multiply, which is divide, and I'm dividing by whatever it is that I want to go away from my letter. And so 250 is what I'm dividing by. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So I take 100 and I also divide it by 250. So P is the only thing left on one side. The equal sign comes down, and I type into my calculator 100 divided by 250. When I do that, I find, let's see if I wrote it down. Yes, I did. I find 0.40 or 40 hundredths, tenths hundredths, right? Tenths hundredths. All right, so for me to find my percent answer, remember I've got to move my decimal place 2 places, and I find this to be 40%. Okay. All right, let's try another one. The next one is 500, or what percent of 500 is 200? So percent looks like it's what not, or something that I don't know. Of is multiply, is my equal sign, and there's my 200. So when I multiply these together, I get 500p equals 200. I divide by 500 because it's what I want to go away. Type into my calculator 200 divided by 500, and I find p is equal to, looks like 0.4. It's the same thing that it was on the other screen. I move my decimal 2 places and I get 40%. Final answer. All right, let's try one where the numbers are mixed around here. So now what is 25% of 240? Is my percent multiply my whole, and so apparently here's my n, right? N is what I don't know because everything else has something attached to it, right? It's accounted for. So n is equal to 25%, the decimal's here, I move it 2 places to the left, so I get 0.25 times 240. When I put these in my calculator and I multiply 0.25 times 240, I get, let's see, 0.25 times 40, oops, sorry, not 40, 240. I get 60. And that's it, because n is on one side already, the numbers are on the other side, and so I found that 25% of 240 is 60. Okay? All right, the next one's getting a little more difficult. We're talking about eating out, having a bill, tipping your waiter or waitress, and what is your bill or your tip. So we've got to look and see what it's really asking me. It says, what is the tip when your bill is this and you tip 15%? So what am I looking for? I'm looking for the tip, right? The tip is my piece, my part. I told you that the bill is always your whole, and a percent is obviously always the p, okay? So my percent, 15% as a decimal is 0.15 because I moved it 2 places to the left, 1, 2. And my whole is the $34. I'm looking for what is my tip, not what is my total bill, okay? So I just need to know what n is. So I put in my calculator 0.15, I multiply it times $34, and I find n equals 5.1. Is 5.1 accurate? Is it an okay answer? Well, remember that tip is money, and this is not how we write money, right? First of all, we need a dollar sign, and we don't just put 0.1, but it would actually be 10 cents is what we're looking for. So you need to fill it in and make sure it's correct, okay? All right, 2 more, and then we're done. Total bill, that's what you're looking for, okay? Total bill is gonna have an extra step. We're gonna find the tip, but we're also gonna have to add the tip to what you paid your bill was, okay? So that's how you're gonna have to solve this last one. So as we move forward here, we wanna know what is the tip when you're tipping 20% and your bill is $58. It's the same setup that we just did, okay? So in your calculator, you're gonna be putting 0.20 times your $58 bill. So your tip is $11.60. It doesn't care about the tip, it wants to know what the total bill is. Well, your bill was $58, your tip was $11.60. You're gonna add them together and you get 60 cents, so $69.60 is gonna be your final bill. Okay? Your last problem that we're gonna solve, you just have to make sure that you put your decimal, your percents as decimals, bring down your of as multiply, your whole number is 360, your equal sign is, and what number is something I don't know. There's always something that you don't know in these problems, okay, always. So for this one, you're typing in 0.60 times 360 equals, n equals 216. All right, so that's the last problem for this lesson. Make sure that you log in and look at your TOYOs and make sure those are ready for class.